Good job reading. Alright, so now let's get out our sloppy copy, as the sage would say. And first we're going to think about main idea. I'm going to do this one with you guys first. So when we're thinking about main idea, what are we thinking about? May thinking something? Okay. Chicago long ago, that was kind of the beginning part of the story. We got to think about, in the end, is talking about the city today. So we kind of have to think about both sides. So we get all parts. JR?
Does how Chicago was different back then and how it's not different today?
Perfect. So how Chicago changed. That is what this whole story was mostly about. So we can all write that in our main idea. So I'm going to write a complete sentence because this will help us tomorrow when we go to write a complete paragraph. So I'm going to say the main idea of the text. Is how Chicago has changed over time. Give you guys a second to write that down. Good job. So when we think about main idea, we have to think about every little part of the story and what it was mostly about. So like when Mason started on, the beginning was talking about what Chicago was like in the past. And it was talking about how they wanted to build a school, so they did. They built homes, they opened businesses, there was more workers, more people. And then by the end of the story, we see how the city is now. So that's how we can see how the Chicago has changed over time, meaning that is our main idea of the story. When we go to look for supporting details, you guys can highlight some that you think you find in your text. We'll do the first one together, and I'll let you do the second and third ones kind of by yourself. Okay. Have we all gotten this written? So we're going to have to go back to our text. And now that we know that the main idea is how Chicago changed over time, we need to find some supporting details that go with that. So, what tells us when, how, what, where, why about the story that relates to how Chicago has changed over time? Who thinks they have a supporting detail straight from the text to support our main idea? Julie, you got one?
People worked hard to get what they need.
People worked hard to get what they need. Does that relate directly to the main idea about how it changed? That just talks about how people work in Chicago. But we need to find something about how it has changed, what they did to change it, how they changed it, why they changed. John, what do you got?
The streets were made out of wood, so they had to change that because the lanterns would fall off the little things, and the road would get on fire, so they had to change that. I was carrying a bucket of water.
Okay, I like that. You were inferring a lot. So originally the streets were made out of wood. And so they carried a bucket of water and the lanterns. So then they had to change that. Does it say that in our text, John? Does it directly say that they had to change the wood or the streets? Well, we know because we talked about Chicago Fire already. That's why they had to change it. So I like that. That's a good inference. I am going to highlight the street was made of wood, just so we kind of remember that. But that's not what's for me to know. I'm going to say one of the first ones is more people moved to Chicago. So it started as a much smaller town and then it got bigger. So for your first supporting detail, you guys can write that. More people moved to Chicago. have one?
That's JR.
JR. I've done that twice today. Mixing yours up.
Long ago, Chicago was a small town.
Yes, you can use that. That's the very first sentence. It talks about how it was in the beginning. For the next one, think of one, and I want you guys to share in your groups. Find something that relates to the main idea. Jared, you have some? Yeah, we'll get there. Just wait for that one. Yeah, I got it. We'll do that one. You got a good one? Share with your group. You're gonna share? Okay. Who has a supporting detail they would like to share? Paisley. Do you have one? Okay, we'll put that one to JR. Do you have another one?
No. He told us that.
Yeah, JR did. But
When more people moved to Chicago, there were more open businesses.
okay. I like that one too. That one's in the 4th paragraph.
And they also made new, and people could also shop indoors for furniture.
Can I do one that I see?
Yes, there's a lot in here. Crosby, give me one.
People built more homes and they built streets.
Good. So I'm going to write what Crosby just said to us in our second supporting detail. People built more homes and they built streets too. And if you're ready to move on, if you have a good supporting detail, you may go ahead and write it for your third one on our sloppy copy.
More as families moved here and they grew, they wanted to have a school study.
I like that one. It's a really good one. If you don't have that one written down, I would write that one.
I don't have to say
Just put it on the concluding sentence. We will do that one together since we probably not talking about that.
It's on the second paragraph. It said as families moved here and they grew, they wanted to have a school study. That's a sentence.
Make sure you have 3 really good supporting details that relate to the main idea. If you have another one, you can write it. Or at the back. Or definitely highlight that. That's good.
I like that one you
More people moved here. Look at this. As families moved here and they grew, they wanted to have a school study.
If you look at the city,
Good, guys, good. Everyone have one?
I said,
And if you find another specific text, you can write If anyone would like to share the final supporting detail, they can. Emerson, tell us one. What'd you write?
Emerson. Everly.
That's twice. John and Jar. Kimberly.
And people with take off the line. That's it.
Do you have it? Look in the fifth paragraph, I think. First one, fourth.
I think it.
Family frontier. And build a school. That's a good one. I like that. Who else has a supporting detail they would like to share? Eli? More businesses shut. More businesses open. Add that to yours, and that's a good one. Timber? You have one? Well, probably the Steelers. That's a really good one. Glad you have it on. Anyone else have their third supporting detail they want to share?
No.
No?
Yes.
Do you have one?
Yes, but it's
You already said it. Oh, okay. Okay. Those are good. For the last one, I'm just gonna write. Okay. So now moving on to the conclusion sentence. Some of you guys were asking about that. Conclusion statements are something you write at the end of your paragraph that restates what you just talked about. So I have some like examples of what you could say for how to write a concluding statement. So these say the details support the main idea, and so you insert your title of the text, your supporting detail. You could say that is what for tomorrow? We're gonna do this today because then it'll make tomorrow easier. Another one. The given details help to support why I think the main idea of the text is blank. And in conclusion, this is why I think the main idea of the text is blank. So which one of these do you guys want to use today? First, second, or third one? Raise your hand if you want to do the first one. Raise your hand if you want to do the second one. And then raise your hand for the last one. We like the last one? Okay. So we're going to write this. So. Okay, so we're going to copy this. In conclusion, this is what I think the main idea of the text is. And then, wait. So, in conclusion, stop when you get to is. Conclusion statement restates everything you just said into one final sentence. What is the main idea of our text?